Success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, you Road Truth listeners. Today I have Luke Charlton. He is a business coach. Thank you, Luke, for being here today.
No problem. Thanks for having me, man.
What's your and you can probably tell by his accent, he's I think from Texas, I believe.
Not from Texas. No.
Luke, so what's your elevator pitch when someone goes, Luke, what do you do? How do you describe yourself?
Yeah, pretty simply. Like I typically work with coaches, so like health coaches, other marketing coaches, dating coaches, weight loss coaches. So I just typically say, look, I help coaches get clients. That's kind of my elevator pitch. You want more clients, I can help you with that.
I mean, and being there's, so many, I guess, coaches out there. Even though you're a coach of a coach, what differentiates you from other coaches in your sector?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, well, the big thing that the way that I help coaches get clients is by sending one email per day. So, I typically help coaches that are earning under 6 figures or other service professionals that are earning under 6 figures. They're just trying to get going, trying to get some consistent clients. So the way that I do that is without any of the like complex funnels. So there's a lot of, I don't know, for those who don't know what funnels are, they're just kind of using kind of tech to attract clients. It's a more complicated way of attracting clients. And a lot of gurus teach it these days. It's like using webinars or low ticket funnels, like they're selling books for like $10, upsells and downsells and tripwires and all this stuff. So when they work great, but for the coach that is not a marketing professional, they're often very hard to make work, to get clients from them, because your copy needs to be good and you're often trying to convert advertising, which is very cold traffic, right? It's people that don't know who you are. So it's just the level of expertise you need to make one of these funnels work is a lot higher than, say, my method, which is by sending one email per day. So obviously email is not new, but my methodology for sending those emails is unique to me and my system and my way of getting results. But at the end of the day, it's basically just keeping it very simple. You just build your email list and send one email per day. That's kind of like the foundation of what I teach to help coaches get consistent clients.
Well, let's rewind to a young Luke. Who was a young Luke? Was he basically that go-getter? Was he helping other people? Who was a young Luke?
Yeah, another good question. So I actually started in the corporate world. I don't know if you would consider it corporate. So I come from this city called Canberra, which is the capital. It's actually the capital of Australia. And because it's the capital, there's a lot of government jobs there. It's like 90% public service. So when I finished university in 2004 or 5, I think it was, it was like 2007. I got a job basically in the government, and then I got another, and I ended up not staying there for a couple of years, not really liking that. But then I moved to another government job, and so what happened was I realized after kind of working this 9-to-5 lifestyle that after 6 months or so working in these jobs, like the first 6 months were great because you're learning, right? And you've got growth and everything feels great. But then after about 6 months, you kind of plateau and your job, well, for me anyway, my job satisfaction went downhill because I wasn't growing anymore. And the only way to move up in those environments is for someone to retire or for someone to die. And because they're kind of like government jobs, not many people, people stay in their positions for a long time. So there's not really any avenue for growth. So I got, I realized after about 2.5 years in the second job that I moved to, that I needed something else. Like I realized like a 9-to-5 wasn't going to give me the satisfaction that I was looking for. And so that's when I started looking at other avenues of other careers. Like I actually got certified as a personal trainer, and I thought that would be a cool thing to do. And then I kept searching and came across life coaching, and I got certified as a life coach in 2012. And then I decided, look, in 2013, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to make the leap. And I'm going to, I'm not going to run my business in Canberra. I'm actually going to move to London all the way halfway around the world. And the reason why I chose London is a couple of reasons, actually. My dad is from the UK, so I have my UK citizenship, my passport for there. So that was one reason, just to try something different. I've been in Canberra my whole life. But the other reason is, I'm growing a business. There's millions more people in London than there is in Canberra. So millions more people means it's going to be easy to get clients, right? So that was my thinking back then. But it didn't really work out that way. I went through a lot of struggle in London. I got one client in 12 months and learned a lot about what not to do growing a business, basically. So I'll leave it there, and we can dive into, any part of that story that you want. But that's kind of like my backstory of where I came from and how I came to be running a business.
All right, well, let's rewind then. What was your intentions from university going strictly into government work? Was it security? Was it, what was the idea behind that?
Yeah, it's probably, it was probably just, that typical, like dogmatic, what's the, like that typical, grow up, get it, go to university, get a job. I wasn't really thinking, I was just following kind of like the machine, right? This kind of narrative that we've all grown up with, that this is what you do. And so it was probably a bit of security. It was probably a bit of like, that's what you meant to do. And so I just did that. I went to university. If I had my time again, I wouldn't go to university. I don't regret it, but I wouldn't do it again. Like, I don't use literally, I might use like 0.1% of what I do now. And I did marketing in university. Like, I did a year of marketing. I did communications. I did some film study, but mostly I don't use any of it. And so it's just one of those things I wasn't really thinking. It was just following a narrative. It just, just doing what you meant to do. So then after that, I got a government job, which again was not related to what I was doing at uni. I just got it because, well, I just, grab a 9 to 5 and start earning some money. And then as I'm earning money in a job that I don't really love, but it's giving me money, then I'll find something that I knew I was always searching for something. I knew that these 9 to 5s that I was going into wasn't my thing that I was going to be doing for the rest of my life. I just had it as a vehicle. I knew it was just kind of like a monetary vehicle. I was choosing things I was slightly interested in, but I knew it wasn't a thing that I was going to be in there for the rest of my life. So there's a few different motivations in there, but mainly probably more of a narrative one at the end of the day.
So you figure out that there's not a lot of future in that career, and now you're looking for other opportunities, trainer, and coach and things like that. Do you still keep the security of the government job to kind of pass the time, or do you just jump fully into it trying to find yourself?
Yeah, so this is going to be, I'll tell you what I did, and I probably don't recommend it, but I was just in such a situation that I had to get out. So at the end of my time working for the government in 2013, it got so, like, the way that I describe it is like being in a straitjacket, like in your soul, because I just really hated it that much. I just felt constrained, and it got so bad at the end that about every hour, every 90 minutes, I had to take a break from my job because it got so tedious and repetitive, and just walk. I literally go for like a 10-minute walk and do another like 90 minutes and do another 10 minutes. Like I just couldn't stand it that much. So I basically just quit and I just moved. But I had some savings with me to be able to do that. If I wasn't in, like, if I was in a job that I could have bared, for a bit longer, that, I would have stayed in that job. And that's what I recommend to others. Like, if you're in a job that is paying the bills, putting food on the table, then you should be building a business in your spare time if that's possible. Because I know what it's like to be, again, in London with no cash flow. Only your savings are going down every month. And then it gets to the point where you have to put it on your credit card, and then you got no money on your credit, you got space on your credit card, and then you have to go to family and friends. And then that runs out and you can't go to family anymore. And so I had to come back to Australia because I was in debt and had no money, basically. So if I had my time, like if I was in a job that I kind of could bear, I would have stayed in my job and built it in my spare time. And I think, I've got 2 kids now. I didn't then. I was single, so I had a lot more spare time to do that in the evenings. If I did it that way, I know a lot of people listening to this probably have families, but there are places in the day where you can dedicate an hour or 2 to to your business if that's what you want to do. You can not watch an episode of Netflix or so much YouTube or social media. Instead of looking up social media, you look up things about your business. Educate yourself instead of going on social media. So there's lots of, we can find time if we really want the thing that if we really want that business. If that's what your goal is, there's always time.
Okay, well let's talk about you, right? So you talk about being a straitjacket, right? Now, what was that catalyst? What was that thing? Or what was that mindset where you're like, I just need to quit today because I can't do this anymore? Was it? Because I think there's people listening right here that are going through the same routine, going through it, and they need that push. They need that little something to tell them, I need to take it to the next step. Yeah.
So it's, people will stay in the same situation until the pain gets bad enough. So if you're in a job where you're going through it day to day and you're wishing, I wish I could have a business. Well, you're not really that motivated, right? So what pushed me was just the amount of pain that I was in and just being over it. So, it comes to, there's kind of 2 sides to it, right? There's your pain and there's your pleasure. Most people are driven by pain. Some people are driven by pleasure, and you want to kind of like leverage both. One way to do it is just to quit your job, and now you're like, oh crap, I have to find a way to make money, and that will motivate you to take action. But if you're in a job that's paying you like a consistent wage, this is why it's so hard for people to leave their job, because it's paying the bills, right? It's more painful to quit than it is to stay, right? So that's why they don't quit. So there's first of all, there's got to be a level of desire for this goal. So you've got to have the desire to start a business. That's the pleasure side of things, and then you would start researching and doing what you need to do to start that business. So you've got to choose a goal that's going to be motivating and that you actually want. You've got to find that desire, and then the pain comes from your dissatisfaction with your job, right? If you're not in that much pain, if it's more pleasurable for you to get that consistent paycheck, well, not much is going to change. So you've got to leverage pain and pleasure. As I said, stay in that job as long as you can until it becomes unbearable, or until your business revenue is overtaking your monthly paycheck. And that's probably what I would, if I had to do it over again, I would find a job that would support my business while I'm building my business on the side, until that business income overtakes my job income, and then I would quit, right? And then you don't have to be in a lot of pain like what I was. That's a much safer way to do it. I would do it that way if I had my time again, but I'm very kind of risk averse. It doesn't sound like it, like quitting your job and moving to London, but generally I'm quite risk averse. So that's me, and that just some background on there on how I see things. But that's what I'll do and what I recommend.
Okay, so you the pain of basically staying at the job and basically the pleasure of some kind of like freedom. You get into the coaching, you move to the UK, you have one client in that year period of time. How are you surviving? Did you have money saved up?
Yeah, so I had a big tax return plus savings, which helped. But yeah, so basically I had savings, and then I got over there, and that, because London is quite expensive to live in, especially with the conversion rates from Australia to, you're basically like losing almost like half your money when you do the conversion rate. So it's quite expensive to live over there. And so my savings was just going down every month until, as I said, I had to put things on credit cards and then ask family for money. And that's probably the worst thing, is asking family for money. That's the hard, especially when you have to do it a couple of times. And then when they say no, so again, that's not something that I would wish on anyone to go through. Although you do learn a lot, right? And you do grow from that. And that's why I'm on these, doing these interviews, to share these lessons with people who are considering going into their own business.
Now, you're asking your family for money. They're finally getting to the point where they're not going to give you any more money. Your
Yeah.
business that you're building is maybe not going as planned. What happens next?
So I had to come back to Australia. Basically, I ended up living with my nan because she was the only one that would let me live with her rent free. And what I did, and I probably should have done this in London. It was probably more of an ego thing or a pride thing. What I did when I got back to Australia is I got a side job in a bar, and I worked from 5 in the afternoon till about 10 o'clock at night. It was a cocktail bar. So I worked in the evenings there. That helped me to pay off my debts and to get money to put food on the table and take a couple steps back and reevaluate like what what I was doing, because obviously what I was doing wasn't working that well. So it allowed me to take a breather. And again, that's why I recommend coaches, like if you're really, or any business person, if you're really struggling for cash flow, there's no shame in getting a part-time job to help take that pressure off. That's what I did, and that helped me so much. And I was only working there for maybe 12 months, and after that time, I quit, and I haven't had a job since. So that was back in 2014, end of 2004. Maybe it wasn't even 12 months. Maybe it was only about 8 months or so, but it was about the end of 2014, I think it was, is when I quit that job, that cocktail, that bar job, and I haven't worked for anyone since. So, so that's what happened next. And then from there, then I was like, I need a more simplified way to build my business. Like the way that I approached marketing in London was kind of like a throw spaghetti at the wall approach, where, like most people, when you first start learning marketing and selling and growing a business, it's like getting all this information, right? And you follow all these different gurus. And one guru says you've got to be doing networking events. The next one says you've got to be doing webinars. The next one says you've got to be doing Google Hangouts when that was a thing. The next one says you've got to be doing podcasts, and you've got to be doing all these different things, right? And so what I thought is, well, the more I do, the more of a chance that I have to get clients. So I did the Google Hangouts, I did the webinars, I went in Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups, and I went to networking 5 nights per week in London, because that's how many events there are in London. It's crazy. You just network, and I got no clients from that. My one client didn't actually come from any of my marketing. That's how hopeless I was. It came from another program that I invested in to become a speaker. So I just met this guy and I helped him with his copy, and then he hired me. So that was my first and only client while over there in London. So it didn't go the way I thought. But when I got back to Australia, as I said, I kind of reevaluated and just looked for something a bit more simple. And I don't know how I ended up on this guy's email list. His name's Ben Settle, and if you have studied any email marketing at all, you may have heard of Ben Settle. But basically, when I got onto Ben's list, he said something that really changed the way that I went about growing my business. And he said, look, if you want to get clients, just send 1 email per day. That's all I do. Just send an email per day. And that basically, it establishes your credibility. It demonstrates your expertise, because each email is kind of delivering value. And then in each email, you can have a call to action to work with you. And I thought, 1 email per day, I think I could actually do that. And that's what set me on this course to kind of just forget about doing 1,000 different things, just kind of focus on one thing and focus on 1 email per day. And I started sending emails per day, and they weren't that great in the beginning, but obviously, like most things, the more you do them, the more you learn, the better you get, to the point now I'm sending emails that people, like, these are marketing emails that my list loves to read. They love to read every single day. I get lots of great feedback from them. And also they love to buy from them as well. And that's the main thing, is us as business owners, we want to make sure that our emails are actually selling our products and services. So they love to read them and buy from them. And so that's was a revelation to me, to just to this day, I just do like a 1 email per day business. I do a few extra things now on top of that, but the foundation is 1 email per day. Right. And then you build, I recommend most business owners, service professionals, you just start with just build your list, 1 email per day. It's very straightforward. And then you can add more complex funnels and automations, all this stuff later on if you want. But at the end of the day, that's all you need to get a consistent flow of high paying clients. And so that's what I continue to do to this day, and that's what I teach my clients to do as well. That's the essence of my system there.
So currently, man, I know you coach other coaches how to get business off of this platform of 1 emails per day. Do you also coach, I guess, businesses that are not focused on, I guess, coaches?
Yeah. So pretty much any service professional, just because I got certified as a coach, and I've been around a lot of coaches since 2013, and I've helped like over, I think, about 4,000 coaches so far since that time. And so I know this industry very, very well. That's why I kind of market to coaches. However, I still have worked with accountants, with lawyers, with other like kind of high ticket service professionals, consultants, corporate consultants. So if you're a high ticket kind of service professional, I've worked with dentists as well as dentists. Then sending an email per day will still work for you. But I just, for my specific marketing, I generally just speak to coaches. But my advice, for example, the advice that I give on my email list in my daily emails, that can apply to any service professional, even e-commerce stores, really, at the end of the day. But definitely for high ticket service professionals.
Looking at the time period from, I guess once you got into the business or quit your corporate job to now, was there a point in time where you actually said, I made it?
That's a really good question. I think this is the thing with entrepreneurs. We're always striving for more, right? Like the amount that I'm earning right now is, couldn't even conceive that I'd be earning this amount of money, particularly from where I came. I was like kind of a lower middle class background, when your parents typically saying like, money doesn't grow on trees, and, money is a thing that's really hard to attain. You have to work really hard for money. And it took a long time for me to kind of outgrow those beliefs. And so, but the amount of money that I'm earning right now, I never thought I would be in this position. However, when you're kind of growing up the different levels of income, us entrepreneurs, we have this mindset of like, I know I can do better. I know I can do more. So on one side, I do feel like I have made it. On the other side, I don't feel like I have, because I know that there's so much more to go. Now, one thing that I will say though, is when I go back from London, and I had like no money, a lot of debt. What I did, right, is my goal at that time was just to get to $10,000 a month. Now, $10,000 a month for me was, I wasn't even earning $1,000 a month at that time. So that was like $10,000 a month. And that was always the goal, right? That's the 6-figure goal. It was like this, invisible ceiling that I would never break through. Now my overheads of my business are like just the overheads like multiple times of that, right? So, but for me, just earning $10,000 a month, it was such it just didn't feel like reality, so far away. And then what I would do when I got back from London, I remember it was like in the middle of winter, and I would work out in the mornings at my nan's, and just like with some workout equipment that I borrowed from a friend. But before I worked out, I had like this affirmation thing that I would read out about, how people read affirmations, right? A big part of that was around earning more money, around getting to $10,000 a month. And when I was like saying it, again, it didn't feel achievable. We want to kind of believe, people say these affirmations and really believe it. Well, deep down, like you're trying to say it, but you don't really believe. And that's kind of like how I felt, but I kept doing it. And so when I kind of hit that $10,000 a month level, it's weird. It wasn't, because I did it once or twice here and there later on, like, months and months later. But it wasn't until I was consistently doing that every single month, then it's like, it was kind of like a new normal. It's weird to describe. It was just like it was like a new normal. It wasn't like, okay, now I've like arrived. Anyway, so what I guess say to that is, if you've got this income goal, whatever it is, and it feels like just a distant goal that you'll never achieve, even if you don't believe it, I believe that the universe or God is, is conspiring to help you to reach that goal. But, he or the universe is not going to help you unless you're kind of taking action to that goal. It's all well and good to kind of say affirmations, but you really have to be moving forward and taking action. And that's when things will come together for you. And that's the crazy thing I've noticed, like things will come together once you start looking and taking action. But yeah, does that answer your question, Vinny? Like that's, it's weird. I don't feel like I've hit that, even though I'm way further than what my initial goal was, if that makes sense.
Well, do you have a goal? Do you have a game plan? I mean, where are you going to be in the next 5 years?
That's I do like I have like I'm not one for setting I have kind of general goals that I will set like generally at the beginning of each year. So the goal for this year, as an example, is just to get more traffic, right? So I already have my daily email system set up. I know that it converts. I know that it gets clients. So I have my program, right? That works. That converts. People want that. I know that it's a proven offer. I have my daily emails that I send. I know that they work. I know that the offers that I promote, they work. They convert. So now, and that's also from running ads. That's like from cold traffic. So my kind of expertise is running paid ads and sending daily emails. I've spent over $16 million on ads. That's like personal and client campaigns that I've run ads for over the last few years. So it converts. So my goal is to kind of just get more traffic, really. So that's why I'm focusing on scaling the advertising and doing interviews like this, starting my own podcast, and doing a few other things. But it's just I have kind of like one focus for each year, and this is like get more traffic. So I'm getting into the habit of creating systems to get more traffic, to get more people onto my list. And I know if I do that, then I will, then that will continue to grow. Next year, not sure what the goal is yet. There's a few different things, but I don't generally have have like a 5 year or two. I used to do that, but I take it more 1 year at a time now.
If someone's listening right now and they can relate to who you were before, just kind of doing the networking things, doing all the advertising, doing all the things without a kind of clear path, and they're looking for a coach to kind of guide them and get to the next level, what's the best way of them reaching out to you, Luke?
The best way is probably just to download. So I have a free guide called the 9 email offers that get clients for free. So if you just go to number 9, so the number 9 emailoffers.com. So just go to 9emailoffers.com. So if you just go to that page, opt in, you can, if you're a service professional, that will be of benefit to you. You can read through that. If you're not a service professional, that's fine. Just I would recommend opting in and just read my daily emails and see how the system works. Like once you see me doing it, it's pretty straightforward. You can see kind of like the style of emails that I send. They're probably a little bit different to the ones that you're typically used to. But that's how you would reach out and kind of get familiar with me. Like whenever someone sends me a referral, I never will get on the phone with them. What I will say is, hey, jump on my email list and start reading my emails first, so you can kind of get to know me and you can get to know how my system works. Because at the end of the day, even if they're a referral, they might not want to do a daily email, send an email per day. So, so that's what I recommend. Just get familiar with the system, and you can see its simplicity in action. And then from there are call to actions in my emails where you can reach out and we can talk about the program or anything like that. But that's probably the best way. And it's also a lot of great content on that list as well.
Well, thank you, Luke, for being on the Road to Growth podcast. I think for everyone listening, I mean, you might be in a career that you feel like you're strangling, drowning, whatever it might be. I mean, find another career path, find another path, find something else that you're going to fall in love with. I mean, just imagine if you're doing what you're doing today, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, are you going to be happy with the choices you made? I mean, listen to this podcast and Luke took the chance. I mean, maybe don't go as extreme as he did. Have a game plan, have a structure, and before you know it, you'll be doing something you love to do. Thank you guys for listening. Please subscribe, please share, and go follow Luke.